So this is me in Vietnam. I think it was my birthday or something. Inside this ammo dump, you can see over there to the right, underneath the barrel of the gun, that's one of the small arms pads. So, let's see. Sitting there trying to think. I got the oak one, like the 20, I don't know, 26th or something like that. In January, I had a 45-day leave, and at Oakland they take away a lot of the uniforms and shit that we had. Gave up our greens and stuff like that, and they issued us the jungle fatigues with the pockets and all. So I don't know. They sent us through different. I don't know, orientation and junk. So anyway, see, when you go to Vietnam or you go to Korea, you cross the international date line. So actually, when you're in Vietnam, you're a day ahead of everybody. And so we took off from, let's see, we went from Oakland, we went to Travis. Travis, we ended up going to, flew on TWA, it was a charter airplane. And we went to, we landed in Hawaii, and we refueled. So for some reason, we took this one route. Then we landed again in the Philippines. And they let us off the plane both times. We had to stay in the, in the airport. And then finally they loaded us up and we landed at Benoit. And I remember landing, you could see these DC-3s, like the planes that the 101st all jumped out of in World War II. They had taken them and put 3 miniguns in them. These were called Puff the Magic Dragon or Spooky, depending on where you were. There were different call signs for them. Anyway, the VC were trying to take them out. There was some action. So when I landed there, it was like the 30th of January. So like they took us in there, this great big bunker area, and there was space at the top where they had opening and they had fans going and stuff. So we had to turn in all our American money, and we got what would you call military pay currency. We used to call it Mickey Mouse money or I forget, Monopoly money. Anyway, it's to protect the dollar. So anyway, yeah, you had to fill out paperwork, and you're always going through this some kind of orientation stuff. Well, they loaded us up on buses, and the thing that really struck me was there weren't any windows in the sides of the buses. They just had chain link fences. That was to keep anybody from throwing stuff in at us. So you're going through this culture shock. It's the first time you've been out of the United States. And you're going from Benoit to Long Ben. And 90th replacement is where I ended up going. So we're riding along in this bus, and boy, I'll tell you what, some of them villages stink. They don't have the sewage systems and stuff that we have. They just take a dump right on the side of the road, So anyway, we went through, I don't know, a couple of villages and stuff, and out through the countryside. And we ended up at 90th replacement. So I just remember I went and took a shower or something, and I come back out. The guy goes, we're on yellow alert. And I go, okay. So I wasn't aware of anything was really going on, but what really happened was it was the night before the Tet. Tet is the Lunar New Year. And they celebrate it. Well, in this case, they're celebrating taking on the United States Army and everybody else. And that's when the Tet Offensive, you'll see it on History Channel. The VC took over the American Embassy. I was like 90th replacement, and Long Bend is 30 miles north of Saigon. So we sat there for 4 days. And you feel real good because you don't feel really good. You're walking around in brand new jungle fatigues, which tells everybody, hey, I'm a newbie. And at the same time, all these other guys are getting ready to leave. I always thought they were trying to get the old guys out before stuff really hit the fan. But anyway, we sat there for 4 days. They had us sleeping on the floor and junk at night. We started out, I was on the top bunk, and they woke us up about 2 o'clock in the morning or something. And I remember looking out and seeing tracers going all over, and they have these parachute flares and junk like that going on, and everybody says, bring your mattress, come on down. And we were covering ourselves up with mattresses and laying on the floor in case they mortared us. So this stuff went on all night. I remember the next day they said they were serving breakfast late because one of the cooks got shot in the neck. I don't know if he died or what. Then the poor guys that were doing all the clerks and all that, they're out there on the perimeter every night. So not everybody, nobody was really getting any sleep. I guess they got sleep during the day. But they were processing the short-timers out. Short-timers, the guys that had done their 360-day tour and were going home, or they got shot for the 3rd time. Anyway, the 4th day they loaded us up on C-130s to a place called Quin Hon, which was another 300 miles north of Saigon. So that's where all our records were kept there in the personnel place there. The VC took over the town. Is one reason we sat there. They couldn't get us out because they couldn't get us in. And they ended up sending in the Tiger Division, which was the Korean army, and they didn't mess around. VC hated the Korean Tiger Division and the White Horse because they grew up in the Korean War. Well, I'm talking about the longest war that we've been in. We're still at war with Korea. But that's another part of the book and another part of the story. But these guys were ruthless. I mean, some of them were the ones that like collected ears and stuff like that. You hear that crazy stuff. You heard a lot of stuff in Vietnam. Anyway, so we spent night, I guess, there at the replacement place. I'm not sure. Anyway, I got up to 184th Ordnance. Now, I was supposed to be school-trained combat engineer, working on heavy equipment and stuff. But I spent I don't know how long it was, from January till like early part of December there at Hunter Army Airfield. I was driving trucks. I wasn't working my MOS. So I got up there, and the guy goes, well, if you can't work your MOS, I'm going to have to put you in for visual guard. So I said, okay. And because, I didn't know the work, Actually, the 2 guys that I was replacing got killed the night of Tet. They had a mortar round or something come in and hit them. They were sitting there trying to work on. We had generators to keep the lights going on at night. And I guess Charlie had hit it or something was wrong with it, and they were trying to fix it. Get the perimeter lights back up. So I ended up in provisional guard. We pulled guard duty in this ammo dump. sits in a valley, as you can see in this picture. Actually, that's what we call the saddle. It's up there behind that beam sort of thing. That's where the MSR-1 went. Korean Tigers were up there. They were on both sides of that mountain. They had artillery things, and they did they had a checkpoint there. They had checkpoints all over the place. But excuse me. By the way, I was there when that My Lai massacre happened. It was 40 miles south of where I took this picture. The Koreans supposedly lost a whole convoy of trucks. They didn't let nobody go down that road at night. They closed that road up. Because around where we were, there was trucks running all night. They'd be loading up to go on convoys to go up to Anke or Pleiku or somewhere, anywhere up in, we were up in Tukor, the Central Highlands. So in other words, everything that came off the ships in Quin Hon, Delong Pier was stored here at this ammo dump. I think the perimeter was like 2 miles or something. I forget how many. This is a tower, guard tower we had. And I forget how many of those were. But they had these different roads. And on each road was these pads. And around the pads were these berms. I don't know if you can see it in that picture. But there's a berm that goes all the way around it except for where the road goes through. Okay, so like I said there, they're probably, just because I know how they do stuff. We had 2 Quonset huts were filled with, they said filled with jelly-form nitro for the engineers. I remember the one night they got hit during Tet, and there was still, actually the lane they stuck us on, at 6 hours we'd go up and down that lane pulling guard duty. They wouldn't let us carry it. It was funny. We carried our M16s, but they made us take shotguns because they were afraid if we fired an M14 or something, we might hit some ammo. It was crazy. Or you couldn't do as much damage, I guess, with a shotgun. Anyway, one of the pads got hit, and the only thing you can do when stuff like that happens is you just let it cook off. And it took days and days for it. Before EOD decided to even go in and see if, they could get control of the, EOD is explosive ordnance, I forget, something else, detachment, there we go. So anyway, I pulled this kind of, what do you call it, pad guard, I guess. There's a road up the center, and then we had the perimeter. So like you'd work night, sometimes you get a pad or something like a road, or sometimes you get on the perimeter. They'd stick you. They stuck me somewhere the first night I was out there guarding a little ditch, by the fence. And because nobody knew what was going on, The village of Futai was south of us, and it never went on limits. So anyway, we had like perimeter guard. How do we do that? Because sometimes you pull from 6 to 12, and then the second group would come in and you go crash out till 6, and the second group would go on from 12 to 6, and then I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 week cycles. So anyway, the next week, some of us would be in the towers here with the D58th Infantry. So there was 2 of them guys that would come on at night, and then we'd be a third guy. So he'd pull 3 hours on. Actually, he pulled 6 because we'd sit up till 9 just talking and stuff. We weren't supposed to have any cigarettes, but everybody snuck them in. That's how I got in trouble. I got busted PFC because I had a cigarette lighter. I left it with some other guy, and he got busted with it, and my name was on the dang thing. So anyway, probably in that tower right there, if I remember right. Anyway, we all had M14s. We didn't have M16s. And that belt, those are M60 belts around my neck, which is 7.62. It's the same thing that goes in the M14. Actually, the minigun works on a 7.62. So, anyway, then we had day guard. And day guard, you'd pull 6 hours in the tower and 6 hours of details. We'd be redoing these towers, putting them cardboard up, or not a cardboard, plywood up and stuff, and redoing the sandbags. Because they'd go bad, stuff would go bad easily, and with the humidity and stuff, you had to be careful of a lot of things in Vietnam. Like, if you opened up a can of sea rations or something, you had to eat it right away. Because after so long, it was like 20 or 30 minutes, the humidity and stuff would turn it into poison. Actually, when I come back from Vietnam, whatever I brought back fell apart. The pants were all worn out real easy. It was all just that climate, kind of like the endless summer. So I think I was driving a truck by the time I took this picture, because we were running around going around each tower and resupplying them with ammo. So if you're on night guard too, they call you up and you do harassment fire. They tell you fire off 100 rounds and 60 and 3 rounds of M79. Because usually the infantry guys would bring up an M79. It's a grenade launcher. And most of them guys could put like 3 in the air before the first one hit. They were really good. Most of the D58 infantry guys were the other guys that helped us guard the ammo dump. Now they already had 2 Purple Hearts. And so they pretty much got stuck on a rear, what they consider rear deal. There was no rear area. Just stuff wasn't always happening around Quin Hon, or this is the village of Phu Thai. That's where I was. And so we had, Koreans had Honjins. They were civilians. They would drive these Nissan trucks. They'd be in here loading up all night too, and Army guys are running their 5-ton tractor trailers and 5-ton just regular trucks, and they'd be in here loading up for convoys for the next day. We had, quad 50, 450 caliber machine guns was a anti-aircraft thing they had from World War II, and they had it mounted on a 5-ton. And we had what they call the Twin 40 Duster. It was 2 40-millimeter guns on it, like a tank, but it didn't have a turret, or it had open turret, I guess. So anyway, they were in here at night, and they'd do harassment fire too. And then they had this thing called the lightning bug. On some tanks, they had these real high intense lights that they used. They took one off of that and they mounted it on a Jeep. And they'd go over and light up an area if they thought the gooks were up there. Because they'd go up there too. They'd pull patrols and stuff. Or they'd come out with this recoilless rifle one time. I was on day guard. They told me to get down out of the tower and back blast on one. They said somebody thought I got hit. Because they didn't know what was going on. And they aim it with the 50 cal that's on top of the, I forget what the round is, but anyway, the recoilless rifle, anyway, they'd fire around. They'd try to hit these wood burner hooches. That's where they burn the wood, turn it, and then they put it out and turn it into, can't think, charcoal. Because that's the way the Vietnamese cook and stuff. So anyway, Uh, I did this stuff for like 90 days, I think it was. And then when I got busted in that tower one night, I finally talked to the first sergeant. I says, look, I got a driver's license, drive trucks. So somehow I managed to get out of guard duty, and I got into the motor pool, and I ended up driving trucks for the rest of the time I was there. I drove a deuce and a half. So sometimes I'd be out there at night. You know, we'd change the guards around and stuff. They'd be standing guard duty. Oh, let's see, where's that picture? Oh, crap. Let's see if I can reach up here and grab. This one fell out of my thing. Oops, sorry. This isn't before, oops. Before the inspection. We have inspection stuff. Anyway, this is, I had a day off when I shot this. I used to have a real nice camera, but then somebody stole it off of me. Anyway, they're all getting inspected, and then they load up on the deuce and a halves, and they go out and pull guard duty at night. So, that was Provisional Guard to Nighthawks. We changed all that to Pot Guard to Night Junkies. So. Anyway, let's see if I got another picture here. That was my truck up in K. And let's see this. A bunch of us got together. We were actually smoking a bowl. Excuse me. That's all we did a lot of times. Shoot, man, stuff was ready, available. Of course, it was illegal, but you know, they say 90% of us. That was me there with one of my trucks, or my deuce and a half. What the heck was this? Or December, non-K. I was up in non-K from August till January. I don't know why I put December of 68. Anyway. So this is the Korean Tigers. You didn't want to mess with them. So anyway, this was our compound, and you can see up there like this brown dirt thing up kind of above everybody's heads there. That's the ammo dump. That's the North Ridge. I got a picture somewhere. Oh, this is the North Ridge there. Anyway, they'd put these lights out at night. We had concertina wire and stuff. And I was in one tower at night doing guard duty. I guess, I don't remember. Anyway, I got this truck. That was Marvin Nicholas. That he drove the water truck, and he used to drive the truck that I had. And I just snapped a picture of it with him. We're always taking pictures. Anyway, this was a 2.5-ton gun trucks that they had, convoy escorts. This is our company area here where we lived. I don't know if this thing's going to work out too well that way. Oh well, that's part of the ammo dump there. And those mounds of dirt you see, those are what the berms are. So anyway, what? I'd take people. We go down and we'd pay the gooks like a penny a bag and have them fill up the sandbags for us. But I'd get a whole detail going, and everybody just put money together. I would just drive in the truck. But I get a load of sandbags and bring them back up, because we were constantly redoing sandbags and stuff. You're always rebuilding stuff and fixing stuff up. The Vietnam War is kind of a weird war. It was a war within itself. I don't know. There was a lot of racism. I think a lot of it was because of the people in the South, both the blacks and the whites. And oddly enough, I find most of the people were from like the Democratic Party or the South were more racist than everybody else. I don't know, I just judge people by how they carry themselves. I had a lot of friends who were black, a lot of friends who were Mexican. uh, so, I don't know, we did different details. The major left. He busted me to E3 for 3 months. He said he was going to make an example out of me, and then just before he left, he made me an E4 back again. So I was a Spec 4 E4. I guess I must have done a good enough job. I know I got stopped one time, and they inspected my truck and it passed or something, and I was always being sent out to do jobs, and I was always coming back with no problems. And I don't know. August they sent us up to Ankh, and so we got up there in Ankh, and they wanted us to guard the ammo dump. That's where this is. That's up in Ankh, and actually the area up behind us was where we were out there filling up sandbags right there. We cut the ammo dump in half. For some reason, I got pulled off the truck for a week. Medical thing, I forget what the hell it was. Anyway, I could run the radios and stuff, so they stuck me in the bunker. We got hit one night, and they hit dead center of one of the pads. We had cut the ammo dump in half because they weren't using the whole thing. And they had us securing the ammo dump at night. And it was just inside the perimeter. So, Charlie probably set up on the outside of the village on K and lobbed them all in. And nobody did anything. It really kind of made me mad because they go like, hey, man, we got hit. And nobody... They hit a barracks 2 or 3 up from where we were, and 22 guys bought it in the middle of the night. It hit dead center in the top. They never knew what hit them. They were asleep. Anyway, that was on K. I remember when I went up there, they go, oh, you're going Indian territory. So I was up there. I got a 5-day drop. They brought me back about 2 weeks before I had to go clear and stuff. And then I went to, Cameron Bay. Went on R&R Japan for a week in the middle of it, and then I came back to Cameron, and then I left out of Cameron when I took the Freedom Bird. So there's a lot of things I learned there. Like these guys here, he was a political science major, the guy without a shirt on the left side. He was also ex-military police. So he had gotten in trouble for what we were all doing, I think. Anyway, like I said, we were reloading this one tower. One of these guys was in the tower doing guard duty. So anyway, these political science majors, they were talking about how they wanted to take over the government and basically it's what's happened in 68. 68, they killed Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy while I'm in Vietnam. And that's when they took over. They had the riots and stuff. I guess, I don't know, I'm in Vietnam. And the Democratic Party kind of got taken over by all these people that, I don't know, there's so much hippies. Some of them were just college students, and it's all this communist crap that they had been taught. As I found out years later that when Hitler, took over in, I don't know, 1935, 30, something like that. Well, he didn't like the communists. He run them out of Berlin. So they moved to the United States and they set up in Columbia University, and their ideals spread. So it's like Vietnam was kind of, like I said, a war within itself. You'd hear about people taking out, their own people because they were bad leaders or stuff, or somewhere somebody got pissed off. You'd hear about somebody like fragging somebody. Well, this stuff really happened. I don't know how many people on that 58,000, which is incorrect anyway, that are on the wall in D.C. I don't know. How many were really killed out of friendly fire. A lot of times you hear friendly fire where somebody called in the wrong coordinates and somebody put some artillery rounds in on them in the wrong place. But you'd hear this shit about people throwing grenades in people's tents. And you just hear about it. I never saw it happen, but like I said, D-58th Infantry, them guys come out of the field. By the time I got to On-K, then the 101st was there. This is where we were soldiers with General Hal Moore was. That's where they went into the Ia Drang Valley, which was always hot anyway. What do they used to call it? The Iron Triangle or something. 1968 claimed the most lives, and 2/3 of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is covered with 1968. So, I was there trying to fight communism was what we thought we were doing. At the same time, Lyndon Baines Johnson was getting rich. I'm pretty sure he took out Kennedy. Kennedy didn't want us to get involved in Vietnam. He'd been there as a kid. His father sent him around the world, and one of the places they went to was Vietnam. Vietnam was a civil war, too, at the same time, between the North and the South. And the North ended up getting supplied by the communists. I've heard that Ho Chi Minh was the leader of the North. Went to LBJ, to Lyndon Baines Johnson, to get support from him, and he'd already made a deal with South Korea. And he was making a lot of money off that war. I can't remember. Texatron or something was his wife. Had a whole bunch of, and that's Hueys and stuff. We had to have Hueys and had to have 58s. They were just, don't ever believe the Democrats when they say they didn't start wars. Because Johnson got us into that war. The biggest problem that we have right now, even then, was Eisenhower. I remember as a kid, Eisenhower as the president. He always warned us about the military-industrial complex. That's basically sadly what keeps the country going is all these people that make stuff for the military, and they make a lot of money. So anyway, what more can I say about Vietnam? I don't know. I watched Jan Scruggs build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial when I was in D.C., so a lot of this stuff happened in there. Agent Orange. They sprayed it, and that's probably what I've got now. They sprayed the jungles, the perimeters. I can't show you what a perimeter is like. Anyway, they spray the perimeters. I don't know if that one will show it or not. Oh, yeah. All that area behind it is all dirt. It was all jungle. Agent Orange is It's like a fertilizer. And it causes stuff to grow too fast. And it burns it out. It burns out the vegetation. I've lost a lot of friends to that too before. Now they're telling me I might have it, or I have it, from the type of heart surgery I had in '05. They were spraying the jungles with the cargo planes, the 123s, the two-engine. They came out before the C-130s, which is the four-engine. But yet they were hauling the stuff on the C-130s because I had a friend of mine, Wes Caton, that was load master on them, and he got that junk all over him. He said the barrels were supposed to be pressurized or some shit, and they'd be leaking. The guys that were trying to spray the stuff were moving around from barrel to barrel trying to load the stuff up to spray, and so consequently when I flew to Cameron Bay both times and back once, I was on a C-123, so obviously I got, plus it was in these sprayed areas, so that's how everybody became, a lot of them got it dumped on right on top of them. They were spraying it while these poor guys were out in the jungle. And Dow Chemical supposedly lost 16 people to Agent Orange, what I heard later on at the wall. I helped start the Vietnam Veterans Vigil. I'll probably say this again when I do the DC part. But anyway, some of the topics besides the prisoners of war and missing in action was what we mainly did it for. We started on Christmas Eve of '82. But we'd have a group come in from each state for a week and pull 24/7 vigil at one end of the wall. We had a permit with the U.S. Park Service. We ended up having a couple retired sergeant majors running the outfit. The initial guys that come in and did it, they were in it to make money. A lot of people made money off of it. It's sad. But anyway, this is where I learned a lot about Agent Orange and everything from all these people that would come in there. I used to always go every 2 years. And I'd always usually, I don't know, I was on special duty at Fort Campbell. The guy would let me go without taking leave, and I'd take off for 2 weeks before Veterans Day and go up in there, kind of like an advanced party, we used to call it. But I'd meet all these different people, different vets, and so a lot of the stories I tell are their stories too. About nobody knows how many people have died from Agent Orange. They say 100,000 of us had committed suicide in '79, and that's probably doubled now. They say, I can understand why these guys, I mean, when we come home from Vietnam, these same people that protested us, somebody said the other day they didn't protest us, they protested the war. I'm going like, no, they spit in our face and called us baby killers. They're the same people that are all pro-choice now, you know? So anyway, that's what was going on when we came home. People were afraid of us. We did and seen things that they couldn't deal with, especially the guys that were in infantry. I mean, whew. I haven't found, I got a guy that's here, he's a tunnel rat. He's terrible for post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm at 70% myself. So, here comes Jack. Well, I'm going to take a break here. I guess I'll make a part 2 and I'll think about more things to add to this.